What's up, everybody? It's new drone day for everybody. We have two new products to check out. Actually, one more product to check out, one accessory to the product to check out. We've seen all the leaks. We kind of know what's happening at this point, but it's finally released today. DJI is announcing its new drone, the Air 3, which is in the mid-tier section of their consumer drone products. It's actually a very, very exciting product compared to anything else they've released recently, because it's a next step in a lot of different ways for what DJI is going to be bringing us today. Of course, then we also have the ND filters that come with it, and with some movie magic, let's do this. Let's unbox it. So, as you can see, the bag, we have the Fly More combo, of course. The bag is very similar to what we've seen come from the Mavic 3 Pro. Actually, I have that here right next to it. It's pretty much exactly the same size. There's not a lot of difference, but it seems to fit it just as fine, even though the drone's smaller, and we do have a little bit of a battery pack, but it's weird. I like this bag. It's a really great bag, but it's weird. Everything just fits in it perfectly fine, even though it's a smaller drone and it's the same size bag. Let's get started though here. We have, of course, the drone. Let me take off this plastic bit for you. It's a bit of a pain to get off. It's not like the little holder that you get with the Mavic 3 Pro, but as you can see, we have dual cameras on this guy, just like the original Mavic 3. However, we have different focal lengths than the Mavic 3, but same focal lengths as the Mavic 3 Pro. So we have on the bottom here, we have the right here on the bottom, we have the 24 millimeter, and then on the top we have a 70 millimeter. And the bottom one is going to be f1.7, and the top one is f2.8. However, while the Mavic 3 they're pretty much different cameras. The bottom one, of course, is the Hasselblad, and the top one is the the smaller zoom camera. On the Air 3, it's the exact same camera. You're getting the exact same quality out of the 70 millimeter that you would be getting out of the 24 millimeter. And of course, that 70 millimeter lens is phenomenal. It adds such great compression, but it doesn't overdo it like the 162 millimeter, like the 7 times zoom that's on the Mavic 3 and the Mavic 3 Pro. This does phenomenal work whether you're doing video or doing photos. We'll talk a bit more about that later. Next up, battery pack. You can see it's a little bit beefier than you would expect coming out of a smaller drone like the Air. This is actually, I think, I'm a big accessory freak. I love drones are awesome. I love the drones, but the accessories that come with the drones, for some reason, just get me really, really excited. Let's take a look at what the Mavic 3 has. Of course, you're talking just a little strip, plunk, plunk, plunk. The battery's in there, and they all just kind of sit there and they charge one at a time. Now, with the Mini 3 Pro, we got that more enclosure type of battery case that actually holds the batteries in, and that's what we're getting here, but a little bit larger on the Air 3. But there's a little bit more tricks up this product sleeve. There's a function button here that'll let you change kind of the charging functions, but the first big thing is that instead of charging one battery at a time, you're going to charge all 3 batteries at once. That's actually, it's not as big of a deal as I think a lot of people might think it is, because you're still going to be waiting just as long to get 3 fully charged batteries. However, it's just a nice convenience thing to have, to know that when if you have like 2 of these things going at once, when one's done, you have 3 full charged batteries, and you can take that, you can plug 3 more in, start charging it if you're on that large of a production where you have like 6 batteries. But these batteries are great. They're much, much larger than the Air 2S's. And they're kind of very similar to the Mavic 3. So instead of Air 2S, where you kind of like, it was part of the airframe, they just slide right in the back, just like that, just like the Air 3, or sorry, that's just like the Mavic 3, and it just makes it a little bit easier. So the second thing that this battery charging case will do that other ones don't is that it will do something where it will consolidate all the power into one battery. I can't show it here because I have 3 fully charged batteries, but let's say if this first one here is at 50%, this middle one here is at 25%, and so this third one here. Pressing this the little function button on the side, which I believe is just the power button. I don't see any other batteries on here, so I'm assuming it's just this button right there. It will move the batteries from the charge from the two smaller batteries into the larger battery, and then you'll have one fully charged battery. That's really nice for traveling when you don't have access to, full any sort of significant charging infrastructure. You're just kind of hiking, or if you're camping, whatever you are, or you're like I usually am in a city, and all you have to do when you're charging is coffee shops, and everyone's plugged into pretty much like a 6-times splitter of one power outlet, and you get like nothing. So that's super, super nice to see. It's also just, it fits like so perfect. Like it is just perfectly situated in that bag, in that slot. It's phenomenal. I love it. So that's that. Finally, we have a controller, which looks very similar to the RC, which we've seen in previous versions. However, it's different because we have some external antennas. When the Mini 3 Pro came out, this is when we got the original the original RC controller, and it's a game changer, really. Having a built-in screen, the stats are pretty much exactly the same as the original RC. However, because the Air 3 now supports the AquaSync 4, the 04 transmission, instead of 03, which we've had for before, I believe that it needed some boost in the hardware. And pretty much what they just added in was 2 more transmitter. So instead of having 4 receivers and 2 transmitters and 4 of something else, I don't remember what they're called, you pretty much now have 4 of everything, which is why you now have these 2 external antennas instead of just having internal ones. Other than that, it's pretty much exactly the same. It flies exactly how you would fly it with the RC, and it will be coming with the Air 3. There's not much else to say about this other than better transmission, better quality, and we're going to get into the stats next of what all is coming with this drone. But overall, it's a solid option. Like this, having the battery case upgrade is awesome. The drone, dual cameras, bigger battery, longer flight time, omnidirectional detection, and APAS 5, which is on the Mavic 3, which has now come to the Air. It's a phenomenal drone. It really, really is. If you want something better than the Mini 3, but you don't want to spend as much money on the Mavic, this Air has gotten so much better, and is really a huge upgrade from the Air 2S, which is what we had before in most ways. 2 last things to mention is, of course, the ND filters. They come in the same package that they've come in on all the other drones. You get 4 of them. You get an 8-stop, 16, 32, and 64. I had a 64 one while I was recording. Didn't realize that, but so you saw that one already. But pull out. Just like any other DJI ND filters. Nothing crazy here. I mean, they're great. I use them all the time, especially because you can't change the aperture on this drone. You're pretty much stuck with only changing your ISO and your shutter speed. Having a ND filter to cut down some of that light is really, really important. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention while we get in the Fly More package is this is something that's going through, of course, not just DJI, but most tech companies when they're releasing products, is that there's no more USB-C charging, a wall outlet plug. So the little plug that plugs into the wall, and you plug USB-C into it. You're just getting a USB-C card. You're not getting any sort of way to plug this into the wall right out of the bat, even with the Fly More combo. I don't know exactly how I feel about that, especially with the beefier charger charging block you get. You kind of do need you do want that more oomph to charge those 3 batteries faster. And the Mavic 3 comes with them, so it's just the Air has been determined that it doesn't need to have a charger. Now, the reason why a lot of these companies are doing this, because Apple does it, and of course I think Google's doing it as well, is that they want to save down on environmental reasons and keep sending these USB-C plugs all over the place. I get it. I have so many of them just laying around. I actually have 2 of these 100-watt ones from DJI, which you can buy, and they're great. They're phenomenal. They charge so much faster than the 65-watt one. I have 2 of these. I don't even know what the second one is. So, I get it. Environmental reasons, you don't want it. But that's important to note that even when you're buying the Fly More combo of the Air 3, whether you get it with the RC 2 controller or the RC N2 controller, which I forgot to mention, is a very similar upgrade. From the RC to the RC2, from the RC N1 to the N2, it's just it adds support for the 04 transmission. No matter which one you get, you're going to be pretty much out of luck with having somewhere to charge it right off the bat. You're going to have to purchase either a port, an extra plug from DJI, like this one, or use one that you have yourself. I mean, they're not too terribly expensive, but of course, now you're going to have to buy your own instead of getting it right out of the box. All right, so I have some of the stats here for the Air 3, but if you want all the details for everything, check our article in the link below, written by Bruce. Has all the details that comes out with this. But here's just some of the most important ones here. So yes, dual 1 over 1.3 CMOS sensors on this thing, which is technically a downgrade from the Air 2S, which had a 1-inch sensor. But when you're looking at the fact that we have 2 cameras instead of 1, it's pretty impressive that they even fit those 2 in a camera that small. Both cameras will do up to 4K 60 FPS, which is they're pretty much the same camera, like I said. So it's pretty much what you got. 4K 100 FPS 4 times slow motion, so that's about 25 frames per second when you look at it. But so that comes in, records straight out as a slow motion video rather than a 100 FPS video. 10-bit D-Log M for recording if you want to do some color grading, and 48 megapixel stills. So the cameras on this thing, I started looking, I compared between the Mini 3 and the Mavic 3 Pro. Both of them are, it pretty much have pulled the cameras from the other drones. Not exactly sure if they're exactly the same sensor. I don't know exactly what DJI's supply chain looks like, but the Mini 3 also has a 24mm 1 over 1.3 camera that does 4K 60, and then the 70mm on the Mavic 3 Pro is also a 1 over 1.3. I think also doing 4K 60 video on that one. So they're pretty much looking like they've just kind of combined the 2 pretty good cameras in the one drone, which is why it's called the mid-tier. You're getting pretty much the best parts of both, or at least the pretty good parts of both. One of the cool things that this drone does, it does a pre-cropped 2.7K video. I tried this out. It's a little weird. It doesn't, so instead of rotating vertical like the Mini 3 does to give you true vertical video for all those social media posts, it just kind of pre-crops it in, and then you can just record out of that. I already have a vertical video format coming out of the camera, and or coming out of the drone, and you can post it right to social media without having to crop it yourself, which can be, it's not necessarily difficult, but it can be a little bit annoying and time consuming. So appreciate for all those people who want to post on DJI, appreciate that for all the people who want to post on social. We're going to talk about 04, 20 kilometer range, and then up to 1080 60 live feed. I think it was 03, it was like 16 or 15 or something, I think, kilometers. So it was a little bit of a bump in range here, and I think we've had 1080 60 and 03, maybe it was 1080 30. But I mean, hey, it's been rock solid for me. I haven't had any issues with flying around with the RC2. I know the RC1, the first RC, had some issues for some people flying around, either power lines or if you're somewhere like Australia where they can actually fly for 20 kilometers, or running into some issues. But I've had no problems with connection at all with this drone. It looks phenomenal. Everything's super clear, so I've had no issues. Pricing: the base model of the Air 3 comes in just over $1,000 at $1,999, which is just, I think, above the Mini 3 Pro, I think, in the Fly More combo, or around in that area. So pretty much coming in right where everyone expected it to come in, above the Mini 3. If you want the Fly More combo with the N2 controller, that's $1,349, and then if you want the Fly More with the RC controller, that's $1,549. And that comes in pretty much $50 below the Mavic 3 Classic at $1,599. So, like we all guessed, this is a mid-tier, right in the middle of the pack. They've covered all their price points. I was pretty skeptical on the Mavic 3 Classic, but they've seemed to pretty much make it work with the Air 3, the Mini 3, the Mavic 3 Classic, Mavic 3 Pro, between all 3 of them. So the question now is this a drone for you? And sadly, that's a question that I can't really answer right away, because it's going to depend on what you're doing. If you're a real estate photographer, this might be needed because you might need the 3X, but some real estate photographers are just doing the Zillow listings, and they're just small houses, so you can use the Mini 3. And of course, that if you're buying a cheaper drone, that means you're going to make that money back quicker, and you're going to be back in the green quicker than buying something that's $1,500, $1,300 versus something that's less than $1,000. Now, this drone is really for the enthusiasts to the semi-professionals. It's that mid-range type of drone, and it does it phenomenally. The cameras are great, you know, the video's great, the photos are great out of it. But you know, different than what the Air 2S. The Air 2S kind of had its own, you know, section because it had that really great, you know, 1-inch sensor compared to the other drones on the market. This now shares a lot of similarities with the Mini and with the Mavic. So you have to now choose what's really important to you. Can you sacrifice the 3x camera and side obstacle avoidance? Then you can probably do the Mini. Do you need, you know, all the obstacle avoidance and you really need 5K video? Then the Mavic 3 Classic and the Mavic 3 Pro might be your suggestion. For me personally, this is me. This is where I'm going to sit. I'm an enthusiast, so I want all the extra bells and whistles, but I don't necessarily need the Mavic series lineup for my kind of work. This does just fine for me, and it's phenomenal. I mean, you're not gonna be sad if you buy this. Well, maybe you'll be sad if you need ProRes because it doesn't do ProRes. You're gonna have to spend the couple more $1,000s for that one, but you're not gonna be sad if you buy this drone. It's an amazing drone, and congrats to DJI for putting out another great product. If you guys have made it this far in the video, I appreciate it. This is something I'm bringing on new to the site. I mostly do articles, and I know when Scott left, we lost kind of most of our solo video content, and I'm trying to bring it back to you guys. So if you guys enjoy this, I'm going to work harder and increase my skill set of producing these type of videos. Editing and B-roll are not my skill set, but I am learning and trying to do better. Make sure you head over to DroneDJ.com and read all our articles. We have comparisons between all the different products. We have my written review, which I think is much better than this video review. So make sure you go read that, as well as an unboxing and overview of everything that goes inside of it and more of my thoughts on that. So if you guys would be willing, please like and subscribe and check out our live streams on the Fridays with Ife, where we talk over the entire drone industry. And see you guys all in the next video.